10 minutes.
Yep.
Okay, please.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So what we are here today to talk about is what's called the entrepreneurial operating system. And lots of you are wrapped up in entrepreneurial businesses. And the big idea here is really that a lot of business leaders find themselves feeling like they're running after their company and they're not really in control of the organization. And so what do we do in order to get a grip, like we say, on an entrepreneurial company? And so, I am really sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
And so EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System, is really about three different things that we call vision, traction, and healthy. So vision meaning getting the leaders of the business 100% on the same page with where the organization is going and how it's going to get there. And then the traction component is about the discipline and accountability side of a business. So really teaching leaders to be people who can master execution. And then healthy is about saying, how do we build healthy teams in an organization? So all the work that we're putting in, so all of the effort that we're putting into the business is actually sustainable over the long term. And so the founder of EOS, Gino Wickman, likes to say that strategic planning is often too complex and an organization's vision is seldom clear and concise. And you guys have probably seen this in businesses where it's very easy to make a plan complex, but when we make a plan complex, several things happen. One, it's difficult to remember. And two, most of our people don't understand what we're trying to do and don't understand where we're trying to take the company. And so what does it look like to really simplify everything that we're doing here? So the EOS model has 6 components, and I'm going to go through them at a very high level, and then we're just going to look at one of the tools. So the first of the components is vision, and vision is about getting all of your people 100% on the same page. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Then the second part is people, and this is about saying, how do we get the right people in the right seats, and how do we define who the right people are for the organization? And then the data component is about saying, how do we run the organization based on metrics rather than on somebody's intuition? And then fourth is issues. So every organization has issues. How do we figure out what they are and how do we solve them? And then process is how do we make sure that the most important things in any organization are happening the same way every time. And then traction is about bringing all that down to accountability. And so the idea is to strengthen your organization in these 6 key components. And we have tools that go in with all of them. I'm going to share with you one of the tools that's under vision, and it's called Answering the 8 Questions. And the big idea here is that you can create a strategic plan that is big and bold and has lots of data, but the more you put into it, the harder it is for everyone in your organization to align behind it. The problem in most companies that are entrepreneurial and growing isn't that there's not a vision, it's that people don't agree on the specifics of the vision. And so we need to be able to create that vision and plan in a way that's very, very simple. And so there's 8 components to the VTO, we call it, the Vision Traction Organizer. And I'm going to go through them at a high level here. So there's first page is about core values, core focus, 10-year target, marketing strategy, 3-year picture. And by the way, this document, I've got a link at the end for where you can get it. So it's free on our website, so you don't have to worry about trying to write everything down frantically if you're interested. 3-year picture. And then the second page is about the execution side. So what is our 1-year plan? What's our rocks? What's our issues list? So first is core values. And core values, the problem, the mistake that lots of companies make is they try to create core values when really what we need to do is discover what they already are. And so we don't do core values because we want something pretty to put on the wall. We do core values because this is how we define who the right people are in your organization. So we've got to discover them, define them, and make sure that we live and breathe what those core values are, because this is how we surround ourselves with the right people. Second is core focus. And core focus is really about saying, what is the sweet spot of our organization? So as entrepreneurs and people who are leading growing organizations, it's very typical for us to think that we can be the best in the world at everything. So I've been there, and I'm sure a lot of you have too. So that's great until you start getting spread out so thin that you lose control of what's happening in the organization and things start to fall apart. So how do we remain really condensed in this? And so the core focus is a combination of your why and your what. So why do we do what we do? Your purpose, cause, or passion, and your what, which is your niche. And so keeping those things as really the filter that we use to determine what do we need to do as a company and what do we need to say no to. Next is the 10-year target. And that's just, what do you want from the business? And the rule of thumb is 5 to 30 years. What's the one big number one goal out there that we want everybody in the organization moving us toward? Next is marketing strategy. So this is not marketing tactics. This is just about the high level strategy. How do we define what your target market is? And especially as an entrepreneurial growing company, we tend to say, well, our target market is everybody. But how do we really dial that back to say, these are the exact people, demographic, psychographic, geographic, that we want to talk to? Once we know that, the 3 uniques, how do we present our message in a way that resonates the strongest with our target market? Proven process is the way that you execute in your business and can reassure people that they're in the good hands of a process that you execute over and over. And then the guarantee is a pledge or a promise that you make in your industry. And so once we know what this is, then everything we do from a sales and marketing standpoint needs to drive this marketing strategy. Next is 3-year picture. 3-year picture is really about creating a picture in your head that you can share with the people in your organization. Most of the people in your organization, and if it's a growing company, don't understand finances, and you can share numbers with them and it means almost nothing. So we need to paint a picture, help them understand what's it going to look like, what's it going to feel like, what's in it for me as we continue to push this organization forward. Once we know what the 3-year picture is, that lines us up for the next part, which is the execution part. So first is the 1-year plan. And this is simple. Like I told you guys earlier, the idea here is to create simple strategic planning focused on execution that doesn't kill the entrepreneurial spirit and really the nimbleness of what an entrepreneurial organization needs. So most companies try to do 26 things every single year, and they get almost none of them done. And so we take a very simplified approach and say, all right, what are the top things that we need to execute this year? Not just the things that we'd like to do, but what are the absolutely critical things that we must do this year to stay on track for that 3-year picture? And once we know what those are the things that the company executes. Now, 1 year is too long for humans to focus. Our strategic attention span seems to be about 90 days. And so then we break this down one more level into what we call rocks. So in a quarterly rock, we're saying, all right, these are the things that we all agreed we must get done this year to stay on track. All right, well, now what do we need to do this quarter in order to stay on track for the 1-year plan? And so your company operates then in that 90-day cycle over and over and over again of figuring out what do we need to prioritize and how do we execute it. And then last is issues list. The biggest discipline here is, first of all, just admitting that you have issues. So your company has issues, my company has issues, and we just need to be okay with that. But especially for you as the leader, especially for you as the entrepreneur, what tends to happen is you get an idea or you see a problem and you want to fix it right now. And that's great, except if you disrupt everything that's happening in the organization. So the issues list is a way that we can capture those things, that either great ideas that we want to do, problems, and that are that we're dealing with, maybe challenges that we see coming down the road, and get them all in a place so that we can keep track of them and then solve them in their order of priority. So that's the idea of the VTO. And going back to the first page, core values, core focus, 10-year target, marketing strategy, 3-year picture. And then second, the 1-year plan, rocks, and issues list. And in your organization, if you just take, like, knowing only the little bit that I've told you about EOS and the little bit that I've explained about the VTO, if you take this document and you fill it out and you go over it once a quarter with your team, you will be way far ahead and much more ready to operate successfully in the marketplace and outlive your competitors than most of your competitors are doing.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. So just to recap, I will start from Joel. Normally, management models, or let us say strategic models, fit companies that will consist of, let us say, a few persons, like 5, 6, 10, but some of these, especially micro companies who start with 1 or 2, where do you see the EOS model is fitting?
Well, the short version is everywhere. The longer version is that my biggest client has 700 people and my smallest has 2. So it works in a very broad spectrum. It seems to be about when you get to 10 people, your company stops being able to function like a startup anymore. And when you were 5 people, we could all do it based on our relationship with each other. Once we get to about 10, that's where we need the overlying structure. So it's certainly helpful for smaller than 10, but you really get the most critical kind of advantage of using EOS is when you get to about 10 people.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll go back to Sheikha also. Sheikha, you mentioned that you have the TT where you are spinning off these IPs or these, let us say, startups to the investors and getting some funding from other agencies. Now there is a trend in, let us say, old university, well-known universities like Harvard, Cambridge, and others, where they have their own innovation fund, in which the university is sharing the IPs and the patents, and the investors have the money. So how do you see that SQU can go and adopt such, let us say, model, or let us say, such practice to the country? Please.
Yes. Actually, looking into the culture and the system in Oman as an ecosystem for innovation, our industry is not that strong. And our core business, actually, or core task as a university is also, of course, to do the tech transfer, but we have to find a way that can fit our goal, achieve our goals, but with the less hassle. So what we actually do, we connect to the ecosystem that we are having in Oman. So we will outsource it to our to some companies who will actually help us in doing the pitch presentation through their system. So our invention, our IP will be actually within another program by we have the SME fund, we have different also companies who are doing it, and they get the trust from the investor. When we call the investor to come, they will not come to the university, or they will not take it seriously for the presentation, but our invention will go within another link. So we will focus on our main, gap that is not done actually anywhere. So we'll do the IP and transfer of technology through prototype development and others. Also, the prototype development, we don't do it. We don't have the Fab Lab. We will not actually duplicate because we are not a big population in Oman. So we'll outsource it also on our other partner who have another presentation, which is Makers Oman. So this is...
Thank you, Sheikha. It's your opinion, but I believe also this international practice have its own benefits, and it can also speed up some innovative company creations and enterprises. But it's an argument that the SQU should look at it. Agnes, what do you think the best way to handle such issues with our developing countries? You are more into creating inventions into innovative enterprises. So how do you see the developing world, especially now we start to be recognized as part of the 2%, let us say, best scientists by Stanford last few days, for example. So how do you see how we can proceed?
I would say first that it's super important that whenever you're trying to cooperate between one region and another region, and one country and another country, it's to have mutual respect and be humble, because there's so many things that the developing countries do so much better than the old developed countries. It's like when you're trying to get a startup and incubant to work together, you have to make sure that they are interested in understanding the other part and not trying to just tell the other part how to act, but that mutual understanding.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hanadi. I think we have our time finished, so we will hand over. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. See you again.
Thank you, Nasser, thanks for all. It is our honor to have you in our sessions. This is most critical sessions. It's about innovative tool, specifically the GCC looking for the latest innovative tool. And now we will transfer to the last session about how we implement the innovations in the educations, we can call it. Okay, and who will running this session is Judy. I hope Judy it's there. Nasser, you can speak with them till I identify Judy. I know the Tim and Tim groups is there, but let me identify where is the Judy.
Okay. So what else we can talk about? Now I am in trouble.
Yes, I told you can talk. Agnes, would you mind please to present your type of belt? Because I'm accredited from 360-degree innovation. Would you mind please to introduce your type of belt and how it's the innovation implemented through the world and in many countries, even though in GCC, how they implement your ideation stage and using your platform in very successful way. Till I catch Judy.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we're only a tech company. The people are actually employed in Innovation 360 Group, and we have something that we call licensed practitioners. So we train and license innovation experts across the world, and we have just over 250 right now, I think. And Dr. Hanadi is one of our licensed practitioners. So basically, we have, in every part of the world, we have people who use our methodology to assess innovation capability and help organizations there. And by that way, we also